All right, guys, welcome back to a special episode of A2D. A very special episode, man, because it's our first time ever talking hoops. It's that time of year. We're getting into some other sports here. So, big day today. There was really big trade news, trade deadline. It looks like the Ben Simmons saga is over in Philly. So, how do you think about how that went down, man?
I think it's a big time move. Obviously, it changes the landscape of the NBA. If you asked me yesterday, I figured there was probably only two or three teams that could compete for a title. Now we might have another two teams because I think it actually helps both teams. It's rare you see a deal that helps both teams out a lot. Ben Simmons wasn't playing at all for Philly, and now he's going to be playing for Brooklyn. And so since he wasn't even playing, they're going to have James Harden. You go from a guy that's not even playing to James Harden. Your team obviously gets better for Philly, and Joel Embiid now has maybe his best teammate he's ever had offensively. Anyway, we'll see what type of shape James Harden's in. He hasn't looked good recently, so we'll see. I think the winner, though, if you had to ask me, is Brooklyn because Ben Simmons and the fact that they got Seth Curry in the mix too,
Mm-hmm.
who is up near the top of the 3-point shooting list, and they
Multiple
also got
first round
Drummond.
picks.
They got two first round picks, and
Yeah.
Andre Drummond was not a throw in. That dude is going to be really important. He's the biggest guy on the team now. Aldridge plays center for them. They kind of play small a little bit, and he kind of stretches for them. But when they go against teams like Milwaukee, some of these guys that can pound you inside, they need a Andre Drummond. So I think that was a really big pickup as well. So it wasn't just the Simmons thing. Simmons, everyone hates on him because he can't shoot. I can shoot better than Ben Simmons, whatever. But he he's not going to need to shoot. I don't think it's going to be an issue when you have Kyrie Irving, when you have Kevin Durant, LaMarcus Aldridge, and then who's going to be their other guy?
Seth
It'll
Curry. You talk
be
about Seth Curry shooting.
Curry. It'll be Curry or
Yeah.
Harris. Maybe they got Joe Harris coming back, Patty Mills. They got a bunch of shooters that surround Ben Simmons now. So I think Ben Simmons is going to be in the best situation of his life. Him and Joel Embiid didn't really work because they had to share the paint a lot. He's not going to have that issue. That paint's going to be all his.
Mm-hmm.
Aldridge doesn't even like to go in there. Aldridge is a mid-range, lights out shooter. So I think the spacing is going to be really good for Brooklyn. We'll see what kind of shape he's in. He hasn't played in a while, so I think that's going to be a big thing for Ben Simmons is what kind of shape he's in. So, but it's a win-win for both teams. I like the Nets, man. If Kevin Durant can stay healthy and Ben Simmons can be the old Ben Simmons, the Ben Simmons of last year, the second in Defensive Player of the Year voting Ben Simmons, then I honestly think the Nets can give the Bucks a run for their money.
Yeah, as we're sitting here, I'm sitting here watching the Brooklyn and Wizards game, and I think they've lost 6 or 7, 8 straight games.
Yeah.
So they haven't been looking too good. Obviously, Katie's their captain hasn't been there, but James Harden made it very
Harden's been
known.
out. Kyrie plays half the time. So if you
Yeah,
got your big three that you rely on and you only got 1.5 at most on a consistent basis, it's tough.
yeah. So I mean, James Harden has been kind of a shell. I was looking at his stats earlier today, and every major category, whether it's points per game, shooting percentage, his assists are down. I mean, every major offensive category has been down this year. I know he's been struggling with hamstring injuries the last year and a half or so. And he's getting bigger. He came to Brooklyn, kind of took some time. He looks bigger and he looks sluggish. So depending on if he can get into shape and get back to James Harden from 2-3 years ago when he was playing with the
Yeah.
Rockets, then yeah, I mean that's
MVP James Harden with MVP Joel Embiid, that's going to be a dynamite combination. If it's the MVP James Harden, though, if it's the James Harden from Brooklyn, I'm not too
yeah.
excited.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a little bit more risk there, and they gave up a ton for him, man. I mean, they gave up everything. But I was watching part of the interruption earlier today, and Kornheiser and Wilbon were talking about it, and Michael Wilbon had a really good point. I think both teams win at the end of the day because obviously Ben Simmons, you're getting nothing out of him. So any kind of
Right.
production you're going to get out of James Harden and Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap's at the end of his career. He's been here, been playing for 16 years. He's averaging 4 or 5 points a game at
He's
this point in his
decent though.
career.
He can hit shots. He's a smart player. He's
Yeah,
solid. He'll be a
but
bench guy.
anything that you get out of him, I mean, it's basically, you know, basically house money because, Ben Simmons basically said he's not going to play for the Sixers anymore. So the fact that they were able to get him off the organization, I mean, that's a win for the Sixers right there. Bringing in a guy like Harden, I mean, again, if you can get him back to being James Harden that, we all remember offensively, I mean, he's never really been a great defensive player, but offensively, then yeah, because Philly's built on defense anyway, so they don't necessarily need to rely on him for defense. So I mean, that's the big if. As far as going the other way, you kind of nailed on it already. Ben Simmons, if he's going to be in shape, and I mean mentally, if he's there, I mean, we'll see what kind of player we get. But last year in the playoffs, man, I mean, he was one of the he missed free throws. He's not a great shooter, and teams know that, so they're gonna force him to beat them down the stretch. But he was a plus 112 in that playoff run in those 12 games that they played, and I mean that's huge. Plus 112 in 12 games. I mean that's averaging almost plus 10 a game. And right now, I mean, your best players in the NBA average plus 6, plus 7 a game. So averaging plus 10, I mean, he's a defensive guy. He can get to the hole. If he can learn how to make free throws, the dude's gonna
Which
be.
I think he could actually make free throws, and he's actually not really good, but he's pretty good in the post. He just didn't have an opportunity to play in the post because that's Joel Embiid's territory. You go from pretty good in the post to really damn good in the post. Joel Embiid's probably the best. Him and Joker are the two best post guys in the NBA right now. So you can't really have both of them down there. I think it's a great fit, man. I really do.
Not only that, man, but I think a part of that we haven't really talked about. I haven't heard anybody talk about, but look who their head coach is. One of the greatest point guards of all time. So being able to sit there and have Steve Nash coach you and maybe work with him a little bit might help him. He's one of the greatest shooting point guards of all time, if you ask me. He might be able to tweak some things with him, and you never know. He may, he was with Doc Rivers, who's if you ask me, the defensive minded guy, or I don't really care for Doc Rivers that much, but I don't know if he had the right coaching. So now you go to a different team. I mean, fresh start. He might be motivated. I mean, this could be a big plus. They got Seth Curry. Seth Curry's having the best season of his career. Not only
Seth Curry, Patty Mills, and Joe Harris. You got 3 lights out shooters to spread the floor for these big time players, man. But they're going to be tough if they can get health. Health is the big thing. Kevin Durant is the best player on the planet. If he's healthy and 100%, I honestly like the Nets to beat the Bucks if he's healthy. If everyone's healthy, they're both at full strength. I like the Nets, but we'll see how health goes.
The one thing I'll say, man, there's a lot of age on those legs. I mean, anyway, throughout the entire roster. I mean, whether it's Aldridge, whether it's Blake Griffin, whether it's, Kyrie's got some miles on those legs now. KD's getting towards the end, man. So, there's a lot of miles on those legs. So, I mean, if they can, it's going to depend on spacing. If they can have good spacing and let, like you said, if Ben can play in the post, but it's going to be interesting to see how him and Kyrie kind of mesh on the floor together. I think Kyrie, again, I think he's an underrated superstar. If he can get all of his personal shit and all the vaccination shit and all that stuff cleared, and he can actually start playing in some games, then, that team could be really, really dangerous.
In the playoffs, they're going to pay the fines, like whatever the fine is, because he's not going to get vaccinated or whatever. But if they're going to pay the fine and he's going to play in the home games, they're going to pay whatever it is, and they're going to have him. So it's just health. He's struggled to stay healthy. Kevin Durant has struggled to stay healthy. James Harden obviously had his issues. Ben Simmons, is he healthy? Is he in shape? So a lot of question marks around health and all that. But just me thinking about them at full strength. Ben Simmons, I see him as the Draymond Green role for Golden State. He's a great passer. He can rebound. He can finish inside. These guys can pick and roll, and he can just be on the wing, offensive rebound. That's going to be, move without the ball. There's not going to be any plays drawn up for him offensively. Offensively, he can kind of just chill and then attack the rim, while defensively is going to be where they really, really need him. Against Giannis, Ben Simmons is one of the best matchups you can have against Giannis in the playoffs. So I think it's huge. He was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He can guard 1 through 5, really. He's an underrated player. Everyone talks about his shooting, and rightfully so. to get paid that much money and be playing basketball that long. I don't know how you can't make a shot, but he needs to make free throws. And you brought up Steve Nash, dude. That could be a really good point because Steve Nash is one of the best free throw shooters of all time. That's going to be the biggest thing because they can hack Ben Simmons and put him at the line. Just shoot 65, 70% from the line, and you can win a title. That's it.
Yeah.
No one wants you to shoot threes. You don't have to shoot threes. You don't even have to shoot mid-range. You got other guys that you can give the ball to quick, Kevin Durant and Kyrie, that can go get a bucket like that.
Yeah.
Nobody on the planet can guard either of them. So you don't have to feel any pressure offensively to do anything. Play your game, play free, and Ben Simmons is about to take off, man. These Nets, health, if they can stay healthy, they're going to the finals and probably winning it.
Yeah, the health is a big question here, man. Because I mean, obviously, with age, you get attrition. You get staying healthy. You're starting to see it more and more in the NBA now. I mean, even LeBron's been getting banged up quite a bit. He's missing games. Chris Paul is really the only one that I could think of like later in the 17, 18 years. But I mean, he has a history of getting banged up over the last couple of years too. So it's just you nailed on it. If they can stay healthy, they're going to make a really deep run. And I see them, obviously James Harden was making it known that he didn't really want to be in Brooklyn anymore either. So it's kind of a win-win for both teams. And, I don't know what happened with James Harden and what's going on there.
They were 13-3 with the big three actually together, which in a year and a half or whatever it was to only play 16 games together is absurd. Like I said, they couldn't stay healthy. They couldn't figure it out on the court. They couldn't actually play together. But then when they did 13-3, it's pretty damn good percentage winning wise, So it's not like they couldn't do it. They just weren't able to come together for whatever reason. If the rumors were true and he did one out, then Ben Simmons won it out. It's a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, that was the big one that kind of happened today. There was a couple other small deals that happened today. I think Kristaps Porzingis went to Washington, correct?
He went to Washington for Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah. So, I mean, Dinwiddie. Okay. So right now, I'm watching this Washington Brooklyn game. Obviously, Brooklyn's not at full strength. They're missing a whole bunch of pieces, but I mean, it's a 3-point game with a couple seconds left. And I mean,
get Kyrie that rock.
Yeah. So, I mean, but adding Kristaps Porzingis, I don't really know where the Wizards are sitting right now but they still have Bradley Beal. They still have some pieces.
These small moves. I mean, that's really the major power shift move. I know your son's got Torrey Craig. That could be a important move, but some of these other ones, like you brought the Porzingis move, that's a salary situation for Dallas. Yeah. They wanted to get rid of Porzingis' salary so they can get a free agent in the offseason, which makes sense because that experiment didn't work. Porzingis, he just didn't work with Luka for whatever reason. That combination, he's fell off. He went from being a young superstar to a role player getting paid a big money. So they had to get rid of that. They found someone that can do it. Dinwiddie's actually underrated. He was a 6-man candidate a few years ago, if I remember right. But he's a good guy if he can stay healthy. He hasn't been able to stay healthy either. So that I understand that move for Dallas. Another move, Dragic from the Raptors to the Spurs in exchange for Thaddeus Young. I don't know if the Raptors are in playoff really consideration, but Thaddeus Young can help them inside. They got Van Fleet, who's their point guard anyway, who's an all-star. So they don't really need Dragic. So I understand that move a little bit.
Well, they just to stop real quick. Toronto right now is like on a 7-game winning streak, and that team is playing really, really well together. They got Van Vliet and Siakam. Siakam is over the last 2 weeks.
Really good player.
Sorry, I was watching the end of that game, and they threw up a prayer, but Washington ended up winning. Siakam has looked really, really good over the last month of the season. I mean, that guy he's averaging like 25 points and 10 plus boards a game. I mean, he's looking like an all-star player. And Van Vliet, I think, is an all-star player. So they have two guys there.
Siakam was an all-star. It was last year he was an all-star. So they got 2 all-star players on that team for sure.
So bringing in Thaddeus Young, he's been unhappy in San Antonio. He's 33. He's at the end of he's a D guy. So I mean, he's gonna bring some defense to them. They've won 7 straight games. I think they're sitting at like 5 or 6 in the East right now. They've passed up Brooklyn because Brooklyn just lost, I think, their 8th straight game or 9th straight game in a row. So, I mean, right now where they're sitting, they're going to make a playoff run. Do I think that they're going to beat one of the powerhouses in the East? No, I don't think so. Not in a 7-game series, but it's another move for them. I mean,
They
Goran
probably got
Dragic.
rid of Dragic. He probably has a salary. I'm sure that's a salary done for them because when you got two All-Stars, you got two pieces you can build around. So get you a Kawhi and look what could happen in Toronto. They're a few pieces away, so they're probably setting up for that, I would imagine.
Mhm. Yeah.
The only one that really affects the actual championship, I think, is Serge Ibaka got traded from the Clippers to the Milwaukee Bucks. I also mentioned Torrey Craig to the Suns because the Suns and Bucks, obviously the two finals teams from a year ago. For them to strengthen their rosters, they're continuing to go all in. They're not major moves, but they're important moves. Adding depth with Brook Lopez, his injuries going on, so they added some depth in the front court was big. The Suns, they need another defender behind Bridges, so I
Yeah,
think it's
those
some good moves.
yeah, those two teams already had really deep front courts. You know, you go and we still have so we didn't trade who is the guy who tore his ACL last year? Dario Saric. We didn't trade him today. And I mean, when he gets healthy, they're talking about him being back maybe April and May. If we can get him under, in the rotation, I mean, we're paying the guy $16 million. So we might as well get something out of him. And, he's a big body guy. So get him. He can play as a 4 and he's a 3. He's a
He
3
can
ball
hit
shooter.
shots. Yeah, he's a smart player. He's always been a smart player.
Yeah. So, I mean, and he's great at the pick and roll. I mean, he was a big loss for us in the finals last year. So, I mean, getting him back now, he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. So I hope we can get him back. I would like to see him with our roster for the playoffs, but adding Torrey Craig now is more than just adding just any 4 or any 3 or 4 player. This guy was with us last year during the playoff run. He played really, really well in the playoffs. He meshes really well with our system. He's a 3-and-D guy. When we need somebody to come in for Mychal Bridges, man, he's the guy that did it last year. And he's a fan favorite, man. I love the guy. I am so when I saw that move, I was really, really stoked, man. And he's not with us tonight, but I'm excited to see him back in, the black and orange dude and see what he can do. But it's one of those moves that James Jones, man, just hit on it. He hit it out of the park. It was nothing about salary cap. We weren't really using sticks that much. Jalen Smith could turn into something, but he to this point hasn't really done much for us. He's a deep bench guy. So getting Torrey Craig, who's going to immediately go into the rotation, is huge for us. And he meshes well. He knows everybody in that locker room. So it was the perfect trade. I wish we'd have never let him go in the first place, but hats off to him. And now we have him for next year too. So he'll be with us for a little while, and I'm excited for that. So that's the move for Phoenix. The other move that kind of happened a couple of days ago that could affect the West a little bit was, there's actually 2. There's McCollum. Yeah, he went to the Clippers. Or no, he went to the Pelicans. I'm sorry.
The Pelicans, yeah, which doesn't
and
affect
then
anything.
yeah, the Blazers were selling off everybody. They sold off 2 players to the Clippers.
Yeah. Poor
Everybody.
Dame.
So they were selling everybody, and Dame stays put. I can't see him lasting. He loves Portland. I get it. I can't, unless they make some major moves in this offseason, I can't see him staying past the free agency next year, man. I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, if I were him, honestly, he could have almost been asking for a trade already. Once they started selling and getting rid of all these guys, I don't know if they're dumping salary. Maybe they have some money now and they can try to convince the free agent, and there's a potential free agent that can come there because they still have Nurkic. They have a couple players, I guess, but they got rid of all their decent players. I don't understand the point. You're just going to put him through that, make him suffer. A player of his caliber, dude's in the prime of his career. He wants to win. So if I'm him, I'm considering demanding a trade and getting up out of there, man, because they're not going to win anytime soon, especially when you look at the Western Conference. It's a clear 2-horse race up top with the Warriors and the Suns right now, Blazers, and all these other teams. Sabonis went to the Kings, who is actually a really good player, and he's going to help the Kings. He had a nice debut yesterday.
They looked really good. They looked like they meshed really well together.
Dude, him and De'Aaron Fox, that's a nice little combo for sure. But when you talk about competing out west, they still need some players. So they're not really going to do it. So
they're going to have
when you
to
talk
face.
about contenders, I think Ibaka was a big one. And then we obviously had the Ben Simmons, James Harden trade. That's another huge one. You know, your guys got Torrey Craig. Those are the only real championship contending teams that got a little bit better today. The Warriors didn't really do much. The Bucks didn't really do much. Well, they got Ibaka, but they didn't have to do much. They were already deep. So
the Warriors are so high over the cap, man, that it's hard for them to do anything. To be honest with you, they're sitting at the highest salary cap in all of basketball. So there's a salary cap match rule. So for them to bring anybody, I mean, to fuck with that chemistry right now wouldn't make much sense for them anyway. They're missing Draymond. They're still trying to get Clay back in the full swing of things, which I think by now he's been playing 12 to 15 games. I think he's ready to rock. But you talk about the best teams out west, and right now you said that there's two. It's a 2-horse race. So you're absolutely right. I mean, I was looking at all the stats. I mean, I know stats can change and things can change, but Phoenix and Golden State are so similar as far as shooting percentage, as far as clutch percentage, as far as plus minus, as far as their back court, front court, you name it. Anything that you want to talk about, they're so similar. And I mean, the star power is there. God, I hope that's the Western Conference Finals, man. Not only because I'm a Suns fan, because that's just going to be so entertaining for the league. And now East,
it will
man.
be if they're the 1 and 2 seeds, which ultimately they will be. I don't see. There's no playoff. The Denver, they're shorthanded. Memphis, the Grizzlies, John Morant, not yet. You ain't ready for these two. These are two complete teams. You got some young talent, some good solid teams, but these teams are next level.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be any team that can beat them 4 out of 7 times. That's the thing about the NBA in a 7-game series. You're not going to get any of these flukes, any of these guys sneaking by and getting a 1 win and advancing. Like it's not how it works. You got to beat them 4 out of 7 times, and that's not going to happen. Those two are on a collision course. It's going to happen.
Especially having to win maybe 1 or 2 of those on the road. I mean, you're not going to go into Phoenix and Golden State and win 2 games on the road in either of those places. Now, I mean, they might be able to beat each other on the road, but I don't see John Morant. I mean, I love the guy. I think he's a talented kid, but going into Golden State, say they finish as a 3 seed and going into Golden State and having to win at Oracle twice, I don't see that happening, but never say never. So, but yeah, man, I mean, I'm really excited about this year. I think there's 4 or 5 teams that legitimately have a shot. Last year it was pretty wide open, but there was a lot of injuries in the playoffs and all that kind of noise. So, but as we sit right now, I mean, with the Ben Simmons and James Harden trade, it does make both teams better. There's just a lot of who knows, with James Harden, who knows what kind of shape he's going to be in, how healthy he's going to be. Ben Simmons, who knows how he's going to play. He's been off for almost a year now. Who knows how all of it meshes. I will say that Brooklyn is going to want to spread the floor. And I mean, that guy's last name is Curry and he can shoot the ball. So if you ask me, I think Brooklyn won that trade because they also get 2 firsts returned and all that kind of stuff. So they have a future too. Like what I was mentioning earlier, Wilbon was mentioning how the Brooklyn didn't make this trade for just this year. They made it for their future too. Whereas the Sixers are like in win now mode. So I think that's why Brooklyn won the trade is he's absolutely right. I mean, they got those 1st-round picks and, now they're going to be able to build some momentum.
They didn't need a big 3. Everyone wants to hype up big 3, big 3, big 3. Honestly, Kobe and Shaq, look at them. A dynamic duo with the right supporting cast can get it done. Kawhi Leonard was really the only superstar that year. I think he had Kyle Lowry and Siakam, some underrated guys, but you can win championships with 1 or 2 superstars and the right role players around them. I think Brooklyn got a lot deeper. Ben Simmons is not a superstar. He's probably, if you can't make shots, you're never going to be your superstar. Draymond Green's not a superstar, but he's been an all-star and he's been a champion. Ben Simmons has a chance to do that with this lineup and with the best player in the planet. It's going to come down to Kevin Durant's health, Kyrie's health. And they can stay healthy. That duo right there, nobody can guard them. There's not a person that can guard either of them. So that's when it comes down to it, you need closers, and those guys can close it out. Game 7, Kyrie against Steph Curry, right in his mug, buried a 3 with Cleveland. He ain't scared of nothing. That dude will take and make big shots. Kevin Durant did it with Golden State. He's been 2-time Finals MVP. They got some championship experience. Like I said, man, if they're healthy and they all stay healthy, they're now my pick to win it all.
If
Yesterday it
they
was Brooklyn.
if they
I mean, not
play
Brooklyn. Yesterday it was Milwaukee. Today, with this move, I like the depth that they've added. If healthy, though, if they can stay healthy, they're my champs.
Yeah, I mean, if they play to their capability, then yeah, I mean, I can see that happening. I still think the two best teams are out west, and I think the winner of that Western Conference takes it because they play. I'm telling you, man, you can go ahead and sleep on Phoenix and Golden State, but they've already gone into the East and they've swept. I mean, this is Milwaukee. We haven't played Milwaukee yet.
Regular season doesn't mean a whole bunch to me. Milwaukee and Brooklyn,
All
to
right.
me, are the. I feel what you just said. I feel about the East. I think Milwaukee or Brooklyn, because who on the inside for either of those teams? We just saw Giannis take over, and JaVale McGee's the savior. I don't think so. And then same with the Warriors. Who they have inside to deal with that guy, Giannis, and then who they have to guard Durant? Nobody. Whichever of those teams, if it's one of those teams, I think the Bucks or the Nets are my two favorites to win it all.
Okay, I mean,
That's to me
I
anyway.
can see it. I can see it. I'm an efficiency guy. You know this about me. I look at the efficiency stats, and there's no two teams better in the NBA right now, record wise or efficiency wise. And I mean, Phoenix has gone through their injuries, Golden State's gone through their injuries, and they're just chugging along, man. And you know, I understand the playoffs is a different beast, but there's playoff experience on in those teams too. So you can talk about Kevin Durant. You know, you can talk about Giannis now. You can talk about all these. Every single guy, every single team that's going to be there at the end now is going to have that playoff experience. Maybe other than like Chicago. I don't know how much DeMar DeRozan's been there. I don't know how much Levine's been there, stuff like that. So they're going to be
They're
like
not deep enough.
they're going to be the one that's going to kind of a good team but fall at the wayside. But now you saw the way that Booker and CP3 when they got deep. I mean, they played pretty well until those final 3 games, and I think that they're hungry. I think that they're ready to rock, and just watching them play game in and game out because I do watch them more than any other team. Obviously, man, they're beating teams on the road. I mean, it doesn't matter. They'll walk into your gym and they'll beat you. It doesn't matter who you put on the court. And I don't want to hear about, oh, well, maybe Kevin Durant's not healthy. And that's everybody, man. Everybody deals with that shit. So, but Golden
Certain
State,
teams, there are certain teams, like you said, the Suns, the Bucks, and obviously the Warriors, they can survive it. Clay's been out. Certain teams that are deep like that can survive injuries. When you were relying on a big three and you only had one, maybe 1.5 at most, the Nets, they weren't deep enough at all to survive anything. They are completely reliant on Kevin Durant being the best player in the world. And if he's not that, then they don't win, point blank, period. So if he's not there, it actually does matter.
if we're picking who we think is going to win the championship right now, my pick is actually Golden State. Okay. If you're going to talk about,
That would be the Bucks.
if you're going to talk about, my head, like obviously my heart goes a different direction, but my head tells me that Steph is one of the best point guards ever step on the court. Klay Thompson, that guy is built different. When Draymond gets back, that guy does everything. They got a deep bench. They're well coached. Going into the playoffs, man, they're gonna have home court advantage. I mean, they're gonna be a tough team to beat. We don't match up well against them. They shoot the lights out. If Steph is Steph, we're gonna struggle against them.
The thing I don't like about them is the half court. In the playoff, in the regular season, cool, numbers look great. In the playoffs, it slows down a little bit. You have to be able to execute in the half court, and they can, sure, they definitely can. But when there's 4 seconds left on the clock and the play didn't work out great, Steph and Klay, they're not guys that can create on their own and go get you a bucket. They run an offense that works great. They come off the screens, they run around. Ball movement is great. The execution is normally there, but they relied on Kevin Durant to be that guy for them. And right now they don't really have a guy like that. So and honestly, Phoenix has 2 of them. So they got 2 guys that you can just give the ball to and they can go make a play. So I think I might almost favor Phoenix slightly in the West. In the East, like I said, they're just too big. They can play bully ball. The Bucks, there's the two Western Conference teams don't have an answer for the Bucks. If they get
I
the Nets
disagree with
matchup,
that.
maybe because the Nets don't have an inside presence like that really either. Ben Simmons isn't about to be that. But the inside presence that is Giannis is something to be dealt with, and there's not many people that can deal with that dude right now.
I disagree with that. I think with the addition of JaVale McGee, I know you disagree with me on this, but I think the addition of him, I think the problem we had in the finals last year, it was apparent we did not have depth at the center position. We didn't have it. We had Frank Kaminsky, who is no longer, I mean, he's still technically with the team, but he doesn't play. He was coming in having to play 20, 22 minutes. And we don't have that anymore. So we don't have that problem anymore. Booker's
Get
playing his,
Sarge back, you'll get Sarge back and McGee, so the front court will have some depth added, which is going to be nice. It's exactly what you guys needed. They're not going to be enough to stop Giannis either. I don't think. It'll be
Booker's
closer. It
having
might go 7 games, but
Booker's having his most efficient season. He has transformed into a different player. He's transformed into a different player. For him not to be an all-star, okay, so again,
starter. He's an all-star. He's not a starter.
for him not to be a starter. Okay, so my stat of the day is there's two front courts that have two players over a plus 300 for the season. It's Golden State and Phoenix. Okay, Steph Curry leads the league in plus minus. That dude is, to me, he's actually my MVP right now. I know everybody's going to have something to say about that, but the way he's been playing defense this year, well, Joel Embiid is a plus minus 116, so he's not having a terrible season. But to score 400 more points when you're on the court compared to when you're off the court, that's a big deal. Your presence on the court's a big deal. Chris Paul has a plus 361. Devin Booker has like a plus 340.
He kept them afloat without Clay for most of the year too, so they're right there.
I've honestly, like, watching them play. I mean, they've won 8 out of their last 9. They sometimes struggle trying to find them both shots right now. Once they're fully clicking, and you're right, the playoffs, I mean, they're a team that wants to run and go. If we're talking about half court, the best half court offense in basketball is Phoenix. I mean, it's not even close. So, I mean, if you look at all this, any stat you want to look at, they lead in, because that pick and roll is so tough to defend. All they have to do is either high pick and roll, and if they collapse on the shooter, then they lob it up to Ayton. If they collapse on both, you kick it out to the wing, and they have like 3 or 4 deadly shooters in the corner. They run that offense, they run that motion 40 times a game, and they can get buckets, and Chris Paul and Booker can get buckets anytime they want to. So in half court offense, I don't really see, there being much. The Bucks half court offense is Giannis getting to the top of the key and just running down people's throats, and it works for them. KD is one of the best ISO players of all time. That's kind of what the ball they play. So everyone's a little bit different. It's going to be who can play their game. Golden State has proven to us 2 out of 3 games that they can run on us, and I expect them, if we were to meet, that's going to be their game plan. But if we slow it down and we're able to get to half court, you're right. We are a better half court team than they are. So that's what's going to really come down to the playoffs. But I mean, like right now I'm watching this game, and I mean, both teams are kind of playing lights out, and I have a hard time seeing anybody other than Phoenix or Golden State and Milwaukee or Brooklyn. And that's really what it comes down to. Miami,
Yeah.
I have respect for them, but at the end of the day, Bucks the Nets just got better. The Bucks got better. They did lose.
The Bucks are they bring a different brand of ball because of what Giannis brings, like almost like Shaq back in the day. He's a dominant inside presence that isn't like any other inside presence in the game right now. Joel Embiid maybe, but even then he kind of shoots a little bit. He doesn't just pound you and pound you and pound you inside like Giannis does. He wears people down. Neither of those teams out west are rooting for Milwaukee. That's for sure. They would both rather see Brooklyn and not have to deal with that freak.
I'd rather see Brooklyn. I'd rather see Brooklyn, even with KD. I'd rather see Brooklyn
because they don't have the inside guys that can match that. Nobody really does. Kevin Durant, and Kyrie, they are going to have to pull off some crazy shit to beat those guys, which they actually are capable of doing. Both those guys, like I said, are unguardable. So they're the one team that actually has a shot if healthy. I think they can do it. We'll see if they can stay healthy though. And honestly, I'm not going to bet on these guys that haven't showed me they can stay healthy to stay healthy, which is why if you had to ask me, I kind of lean with Milwaukee to repeat right now. If I had to bet, but like I said, if Brooklyn gets healthy, they're my champs.
Okay. I mean, I can see it. They're not my champs. They're fourth in line for me, but I can see it. They're my final four.
Right. If I bet it, like I said, if I had to bet now though, I go Milwaukee.
Yeah, final four. I mean, when Brooklyn figures it out, which I believe they will, they'll be there. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're the 8 seed or 1 seed, they'll be there because
all they gotta do is get in. Yeah, all they gotta do is get in. A team like that, they don't care about home court, and that's the thing. Honestly, in basketball, yeah, it helps. It's nice when it really matters is Game 7 when it's a win or go home situation for both teams. Then home court advantage really matters. But I think Phoenix won 2 in Milwaukee, the first 2 in Milwaukee in the finals, and then Milwaukee ended up going on a little run. Those 2
games were in Phoenix.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Either way, I don't think home court matters a whole lot. You know, the better team 4 out of 7 times will find a way to win regardless of home court, which if Brooklyn just get healthy and if they are healthy, to beat them 4 out of 7 times is going to be tough.
Yeah, but again, that's the big if. And Simmons' mentality, that's a big if to me. So right now, until they can start getting going, and I mean, the rest of that team looks like shit. So, I mean, Kyrie's trying, Blake Griffin looks like shit. I don't even know if LaMarcus Aldridge is playing right now, but
he didn't play tonight.
That entire team looks like shit right now.
If they're shorthanded, they got Kyrie and who else out there right now? So they didn't really have, and Blake Griffin, you know, that's tough. You add Andre Drummond, Seth Curry, and Ben Simmons, 3 players to a team that was shorthanded. You put those 3 alone with Kyrie, and all of a sudden you got a whole new team.
Yeah,
that 4 right there.
We'll see the chemistry. And
it's gonna take a little time.
Andre Drummond doesn't really scare me anymore. I mean, this isn't 7 years ago when he was like defensive.
If you hype up JaVale McGee, then Drummond can rebound and block shots too.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. Well, I'm saying he's not.
A lot stronger
last year
against Giannis, he's a lot stronger. He's a guy that now they got Simmons and Drummond that can kind of match some physicality with Giannis. Those are 2 huge ads. They didn't have anybody like that before. So now when that matchup comes around, they got some size and some defense, which both of them do.
Yeah, I mean, last year you talk about Andre Drummond in that Lakers series. He was a liability on the court against us. So I mean, that's how I feel. I'm not really scared of that guy because I mean I watched that series. I'm not really tripping about him too much. But yeah, Ben Simmons is, if you can get defensive Ben Simmons the way he was playing last year in the playoffs, forget the shooting for a second. They're not going to need that from him. You know, in Philly, like he kind of became their second option, and he's not a second option on offense. So, you know, with his addition, if he's playing defense, I mean, he can take out your best player, like you mentioned, if he's going to be on, Giannis, if he's going to be on, name some other guys. I mean, if he can guard Steph, he can guard Booker. He can guard all these guys that you need him to guard. Yeah, Brooklyn's going to be a scary team. But the problem with them is they're not going to have very much time together before the playoffs. There's only 30 games left.
Right.
So health right now is already
they got to get it together quick. And just
real quick,
the whole Drummond thing, like you brought him up against Phoenix. If Brooklyn has him and Brooklyn does play Phoenix, he probably won't play anyway. They didn't get him for Phoenix. They got him for Milwaukee. They needed someone for the inside to match physicality against Giannis. Against Phoenix, they don't need him on the court. They can go with Simmons and KD and Aldridge inside, and they can play a whole different brand. So that won't really matter a whole lot.
Yeah, you kind of you like to talk shit on JaVale McGee, but he just had a nice little dribble, spin move, easy bucket. Oh man, I'm telling you, if you watch a little bit more of what he's doing right now, he is playing some. I'm not gonna say the best ball of his career.
Oh, he's a great fit. He's like I said, he's a huge ad. Like I'm not denying it, but Drummond can bring a similar. He can bring a similar presence, and he will hold value. Like I said, when the time comes, they got him from Milwaukee.
We got JaVale from Milwaukee too.
Exactly. So that's it.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So that might be the difference.
Okay, we'll charge it.
So that might be the difference in a 7-game series this year, is the fact that we have
And
that
so
presence
they
now.
need to. Both teams were smart to do that because that dude's got to be dealt with. Giannis, what he did last year was one of the most impressive finals performances in history. How he just dominated and took over that
Yeah.
finals. So
Oh,
someone's got to do something to stop that guy. Ayton tried his best, but he got in foul trouble, and that was it. That's all they had. So now
once,
with
yeah,
McGee and some other guys, I think those are huge additions. And just like with Brooklyn, that's when Drummond and Simmons are going to really come into play.
you took the words out of my mouth, man. As soon as Ayton got in foul trouble last year, we had nobody, like nobody. Frank Kaminsky, like we had Torrey Craig playing our center position, like he's a 3, So
Yeah.
we had nobody. So I just think that's going to be the difference here. The Bucks, of course, Giannis is to me the best player. Him and KD are the 2 best players in the world when they're healthy. KD's kind of proven that over the last 15 years that he's
Giannis even said in that series, he said Kevin Durant's the best player in the world. He couldn't go check KD. They had to have PJ Tucker do it. He don't want that matchup. He knows if you ask Giannis himself, he'll tell you Kevin Durant's better. Everyone knows a 7-footer that can handle and shoot like that. No one's got an answer for that either. So which dominant force, when those two collide out east, which one's gonna be if they collide out east? Like you said, they only got 30 games, dude, to get it going. So that's gonna be a big thing for Brooklyn because they just lost again, and they're the 9th seed. So if they don't get it together quick,
they might
then
not
they
even
might
be
not
there.
even. Right. So they better get it going now. But I think the trade will help that a lot. It gives them the depth they needed. So hopefully they can get in there and we can see the best against the best, and we can see how it shakes out.
Yeah, all I gotta say, man, NBA is in good hands for a little while because I think a lot of these teams are, they're built to be together for a while. I know Phoenix has like their top 4. Once we extend Ayton, I mean those 4 will be together for the next at least 3 years. So, it looks like Giannis just got hurt. Looks like Giannis just got hurt. Moment of silence because it looks like he just got hurt. Hold on, let me see this fall. Oh, he just okay. Okay, he looks like he'll be all right. Yeah, no, but that would be a huge loss, man. That would change everything we just fucking said.
Can't hurt the Greek freak.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he got knee in the nuts. That's what happened right there. Anyway, so there's going to be a lot of good teams for the next couple of years. I don't see one team where I can say, hey, this is going to happen. I think Golden State, the way they play together, they have the history. Those 3, their top 3, they've played together for a while. They'll get it. They'll get it together. Other than that, man, Phoenix has played together. They have the chemistry. That's why I like those teams, and they're the most efficient teams in basketball on both ends of the floor. So at the end of the day, I think that they'll figure it out. But hey, one of those 4, I can see all 4 of those guys going. So
For sure, we'll see how it shakes out. I already said what I think. Health is going to be a big thing. If Brooklyn gets healthy, then like I said, I think that they can get it done. If you had to ask me right now, though, I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I think they're the deepest. What's up, my boy? They're going to go Milwaukee. To me, they're the deepest, most well-rounded team. They can beat you inside. They can beat you outside. They got shooters. So I think that they're a team that looks poised to repeat as long as that thin man, Kevin Durant, doesn't go crazy. He was one big step away from almost beating them by himself last year. Harden was playing on one leg, Kyrie was out, and Kevin Durant gave the Bucks a run for their money by his damn self in a crazy performance. So if you add just a little bit of right pieces around KD and KD can get right, like I said, that's my pick. That's my 2 cents anyway.
yeah.
Let us know what you guys think. I'm sure we got plenty of disagreements out there. We'll see how it goes. It's gonna be a fun finish though. Second half, playoffs coming up. Teams just made some adjustments at the deadline. Let the best team win.
Hey, and before we go, what we just did? We went 40 minutes, and other than we talking about the Lakers last year in the playoffs, we didn't talk about the Lakers once. We didn't talk about Russ Westbrook once. Man, that feels good. Fuck the Lakers.
Right. Dude, well, I mean, there's not a whole lot they can do. Nobody wanted that contract. There's nothing they can do. I heard about the John Wall trade rumors, potentially, yada yada, but even them, I'm sure they didn't want that contract. There's nothing they can do with it. They gotta see if they can potentially get that 8 seed, get that playing game. But even if they do, we already knew a year ago or whenever it was when they made that move to bring him in town that just it wasn't going to fit. They should have went with Buddy Hield at the time. Um, there's a reason we didn't talk about them. They're losers. They don't even deserve it right now. They're playing
Yeah.
some bad basketball. They just
They're
lost to Portland,
they're
who just
all
got rid
over
of all
ES.
their players.
They're all over ESPN, and Stephen A. Smith loves talking. He's got LeBron's nuts so deep in his mouth, man, that that's all that dude loves to talk about. So uh I'm just glad that they're trash, man. I'm so tired of that guy. He can pick legit, like he can pick whoever he wants on his team. I'm tired of it, man. So I'm glad that we didn't spend too much
He
time
reaps
talking
what
about
he
that.
sows. I mean, I heard it was him that wanted Russ instead of Buddy Hield, which to me, I kind of was surprised because normally he likes his shooters around him, and Buddy Hield is a shooter. I thought that would have been a much better fit. So, but he reaps what
It
he
ain't
sows.
about
He,
fit
he
no more.
normally picks his teams. He recruits. He came to LA. This is what he wanted, and now this is what you get. This might be 3 out of 4 years that they don't even make the playoffs out west in the LeBron era. Not so good. The one championship they got was the Mickey Mouse Bubble Championship. So it hasn't
If
been
they
a
would have
great
fit,
3 or 4 years.
if they would have played Phoenix in the first round of that bubble champion, I wish that would have been the 8-1 series, because I think Phoenix would have went out and they would have knocked them off. I just
They were
have
good.
this.
They're going good in the bubble that year.
They were 8-0 in that bubble that year. They started figuring it out. I mean, that was without Chris Paul, but man, they were playing better ball. Monty had them going even that season. So, I mean, DeAndre Ayton faced a 41-game suspension in that season. So, I mean, there was a lot of things that happened that caused them not to win or caused them not to get there. So, do they win that championship facing somebody other than Portland? You don't know. So, it is what it is now.
Miami, dude. Miami. They're a team that speaking of that championship, they're the one team that out east besides Brooklyn. If there's a team that can potentially challenge Milwaukee, it would be
It
Miami.
would be them. They
But
play
they're
good
just
defense, yeah.
but they kind of like Phoenix last year. I feel like they only have Bam Adebayo inside, and Giannis would end up getting him in foul trouble. And then what? What do you have after that? That's where I think they would run into problems. They got some shooting. They got some nice depth. Miami is probably the 5th best team at the end of the day. Right now, you can say they're the 4th or 3rd, but once Brooklyn gets going, I think they're going to surpass Miami a little bit. Hell, Philly might even surpass Miami a little bit. They got some star power with Embiid and Harden. If Harden can get right anyway, we'll see how that shakes out, man. Either way, it was a huge trade. There's plenty of speculation, like if it was going to happen or not. I was hoping Dame would get up out of there too, get him out, and we have some more star movement, but we'll take what we can get. That was a big, big deal. So it's going to be, who do you guys think that any of these teams are in championship contention now? Let us know what you guys think. We're into hoops now, hoop season.
Yeah, we'll be getting more into depth about this as the season goes on, obviously into the playoffs. So yeah, let us know who you guys. I mean, if there's a dark horse, we forgot to talk about. I mean, the Clippers are a dark horse when they get healthy. So
That's a
let
good
us
point.
know. Let us know what you guys think, and we're gonna continue to talk hoops. And obviously, we got Super Bowl on Sunday, so stay tuned for that. We got our picks coming up tomorrow, and yeah, R.I.P. Kobe. But yeah,
My
hey,
boy.
stay engaged, guys. Like, let us know what you think. That's what we drive on. Right now we're kind of going off of what everybody else thinks and what we think. So let us know what you think. So, all right, boys.
All right, guys. Hoop season.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Later.